Memphis is adding quality jobs.
10 years from now, we have the fastest growing black middle class in America.
Memphis leading diversity and wealth creation.
We have the lowest level of poverty in the country.
We are attracting the best talent in the nation.
Profitable, equitable for ethnic minorities.
Fans swarm Beale Street. Memphis Grizzlies win the NBA championship.
Memphis, progressive.
High quality jobs, better education, and better infrastructure.
Thriving.
Good afternoon and welcome to a historic moment in the history of our region's economic development efforts. Today, your Greater Memphis Chamber formally launches the Center for Economic Competitiveness, a transformative effort to truly offer opportunity for all. Now, during the next hour, we'll tell you more about the center, let you hear from business leaders about the future of our region, and help you understand how we've arrived at this data-driven approach. In the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis, a post-recession jobs boom took hold across the country, with cities like Austin and Charlotte and even Nashville seeing explosive job growth. But it took Memphis nearly a decade to recover the number of jobs lost in the Greater Recession, and growth was slow. But in 2018, things began to accelerate. We really felt momentum in our city. It was real. Cranes were in the sky. There was a real sense that it was finally our time. And then COVID hit, and the world stopped. In the face of new economic crisis, Memphis business leaders came together and said, we have to figure out how we get out of this, and we cannot take another 10 years to recover.
That's why we created the Center for Economic Competitiveness. The center's goal is to use data to steer a series of initiatives to make us more competitive for jobs and investment. We don't have a decade to figure this out. The time to act is now.
Every day, we are competing with other regions for investments and for talent. When we understand how we compare to peers across a set of key indicators, we can begin to work strategically to improve our performance. That will be the primary focus of the Center for Economic Competitiveness.
We focused our benchmark on a set of peers based on population size and geography. We wanted to look at peer regions who are similar in size and have the same industry composition and geographic benefits that Memphis offers. This gives us empirical data to answer two questions. How are we doing compared to our peers? And what would it take to make Memphis more competitive?
We started by taking a really long, hard look at the dynamics of our economy to figure out what we need to do to accelerate our growth.
But looking at our economic performance in a vacuum isn't enough. Every region has a set of competitors or peers. It is important to benchmark performance against those peers to help not only understand how our region is doing, but how that compares to the other regions that are vying for the same investments, the same talent, and the same jobs.
To answer these questions, we defined a set of baseline metrics that will help pinpoint initiatives and guide the discussion as we work for a competitive and equitable future. Introducing the People-Powered Prosperity Benchmark, a practical tool to monitor the health of our regional economy. The benchmark tracks 40 indicators across 8 categories of competitiveness, giving us a snapshot of our economy's performance across 3 interconnected components: economic foundations, economic enablers, and economic outcomes. Tracking our progress will help us celebrate our successes and get laser-focused on the most impactful areas to improve. The data tells us how we are doing compared to our peers, shows us where we have momentum, and makes it impossible to ignore the areas where we must improve to attract and grow more high-quality jobs and investments.
As the Chamber's Chief Economic Development Officer, I wake up every day focused on the future of our region. The Greater Memphis Chamber's Center for Economic Competitiveness is dedicated to thinking and acting strategically to catalyze large-scale regional competitiveness improvements that drive genuine prosperity through quality job growth and access in Greater Memphis. Through unprecedented collaboration between economic and community development partners and stakeholders, our work helps position Memphis and Memphians for more prosperity. Most importantly, our work is grounded in data and built on best practices, so we ask leaders of our local business community what economic data points they believe matter most.
The biggest indicator is education. That's the one that's going to drive shared prosperity.
Making sure that STEM education is available so we can prepare our students for the jobs of the future.
I think one of the most important is the number of graduates.
We need to improve our associate degree attainment.
Every single person in our community matters. We just need to get more people engaged in our economy.
If we come together as a region around job creation and wealth creation, it's a game changer.
So, what is the data telling us? Let's dive in. The dynamics of the global economy are changing rapidly, and when it comes to building an economy for the future, the growth of advanced industries is a key indicator of a region's prosperity and potential for prosperity. Memphis has experienced 13.2% advanced industry job growth in the past 5 years, putting us in the top half of our peers for advanced industry job growth. But we rank 10th in the total number of advanced industry jobs, and last in the number of advanced industry business establishments.
To build a more prosperous economy, we have to compete for and win advanced industry jobs.
One of the big shifts in economic development over the past decade has been a focus on building industry specializations in regions. These are clusters of companies in complementary sectors that serve as an economic engine. It's vital that a region have a few strong industry clusters to build a diverse economy. In Memphis, the data show that we're still strong in transportation, distribution, and logistics, but we have opportunity to strengthen our region's competitiveness for jobs in healthcare and medical innovation, agriculture and food, advanced manufacturing, and even in music technology. This is our opportunity to begin to build a more robust and balanced economy for our region. As more of our core industries see the benefits of automation, it's important that we're preparing for the knowledge-based economy of the future.
STEM jobs, those in science, technology, engineering, and math, drive advanced industry and are key to making Memphis a hub of regional innovation. When it comes to the growth of STEM graduates, we have momentum. In the past 5 years, Memphis has had a 20% increase in STEM graduate growth. But our overall STEM graduate output is well below our peers. With 5,600 annual graduates, Memphis ranks 9th.
STEM is critical to our future success. STEM education drives the innovation economy, and that's what's going to unlock our growth potential for the key industry opportunity clusters in our market. Innovation in agriculture, medical field, health, even in supply chain and logistics. Those industries all need STEM-trained talent to drive innovation. And we've got momentum here. Expanded STEM curriculum investments in Shelby County schools, a new U of M STEM center. We even have FedEx robotics innovations and St. Jude medical discoveries and growth of a modern ag tech industry. But a more focused concentration on STEM across education and training partners is one of the most crucial building blocks for a more prosperous future for Memphis.
The tech talent data is eye-opening. We're number one, not only in our peer group, but ultimately in the nation, in the percentage of Blacks and Hispanic individuals in IT jobs. That's a strong indicator for potential for more prosperity. Companies across the globe are struggling to diversify, particularly when it comes to Black talent in technology. This data point is a gem for us. We can weaponize this in our pitch to the world to say, if you're looking for a market that knows how to deliver diverse tech talent, you better look at Memphis, Tennessee.
But the data also revealed that while Memphis excels at delivering diverse tech talent in IT, the number of IT jobs in our market lags behind our peers.
Talent is the top driver of location decisions for companies. Whether a company is expanding or relocating, they are making a location investment choice based on the specialized talent available in a market. It is all about the people.
The good news? We have people. The civilian labor force in Metro Memphis has grown nearly 6% in the past 5 years, putting us at number 4 compared to our peers. The challenge? We need to educate and credential our people to prepare them for workforce opportunities.
We have to work together to unlock the massive amount of talent potential in this market. We know the potential of our people. The question in this moment is, can we come together as a community to help realize that potential? Can we work together to prepare a next generation workforce for the future?
Education and skilled workforce credentials can unlock quality jobs, equal opportunities, and individual prosperity. But Memphis ranks at the bottom or near the bottom in attainment of both bachelor's degrees for 25 to 35-year-olds and in associate's degrees. The enablers of our economy are critical to making sure our people have opportunities to thrive. But there's more to the puzzle. Our people also need the foundations to participate in our economy. In addition to key market drivers and enablers, we also looked at foundational factors that impact economic performance, job access, and economic stability.
We're last for job access, so our focus should be on making transportation and internet connectivity reliable for all.
We're last for economic stability, so we have to begin lightening the load on low and middle wage workers through affordable housing, childcare, healthcare access, and other living essentials.
The good news is that many partners across our community are working together on these challenges.
Through the People-Powered Prosperity Benchmark, Community Foundation's indicators are woven together with economic enablers to give business and community leaders a clear understanding of the economic levers we need to collectively pull to make Memphis more competitive.
What I love about this approach is that we're thinking about how we improve our community in clear and quantitative ways. Oftentimes, we're guesstimating about what our competition is getting right and where they're beating us, but that's not the case here. We not only know exactly how our competition is performing, but we also know exactly how much we need to improve to beat them, and that's a game changer for our community.
So now what? Having the data isn't enough. Now we have to do something about it. That's why we are leading a series of conversations about how we can leverage this information to build a brighter future for Memphis.
I've been a part of a lot of planning processes, and I can tell you this is the most comprehensive approach I've ever seen to the way we look at our local economy. This is transformational.
For more information, visit memphischamber.com.
Good afternoon. I'm April Childs-Potter, the Chamber's Chief Marketing Officer and the Executive Director for the Center for Economic Competitiveness. Numbers tell a story, and we can celebrate a lot of the data and insights we've uncovered through this benchmark. But competition for jobs is fierce, and much of this data is sobering. This is a call to action to decide right now that we want to see a brighter future for our community. We do truly have momentum, and together we can focus on the things that matter most in building a strong, more inclusive economy. Today, we've just scratched the surface of information we have to share with you. The Center for Economic Competitiveness is tracking hundreds of metrics that impact our economy. Marrying economic growth and inclusion is a priority right now for markets nationwide. Diversity and inclusion are at the top of the list for many of the companies that are considering relocation. This is our opportunity to grow more quality jobs in advanced industries and strengthen our foundations so that more of our people can be placed on a pathway to prosperity. The data shows us that building systems that connect people to the jobs of today and the opportunities of tomorrow is absolutely critical in building a more equitable, prosperous, and globally competitive economy. We encourage you to visit memphischamber.com and download the MEM Measures report to get a deeper dive into some of the insights we're sharing today. But know that this is just the beginning of the conversation. I want to say a special thank you to Brookings Institution. Your investment in Memphis is the foundation that this work is built on. We wouldn't be where we are today without your guidance and support. I also want to thank our partners at Innovate Memphis and Building Memphis for their leadership, contributing to this research, and for helping us shape a bright tomorrow for Greater Memphis. I also want to make sure that we thank our Chamber investors. Your investment in the Chamber makes this work possible, and it's helping pave the way for a new future for our region. Now it's time to bring up our live panel and to talk about how we're going to take the data we've talked about today and turn it into action. Just a reminder to all of you watching, this panel is live. So please continue to send your questions in the chat, and we're getting ready to get started. Our first panelist is someone who really needs no introduction. Beverly Robertson is the president and CEO of the Greater Memphis Chamber. Beverly has led a transformation, making economic development the top priority of the Chamber and shaping our mission of relentless pursuit of prosperity for all. Welcome, Beverly. Next up, we have Ted Townsend, who is our Chief Economic Development Officer. Ted leads our region's largest economic development team, focused on building a strong pipeline of new jobs and talent for our region. Welcome, Ted.
Thanks,
And
April.
last but certainly not least, we have Alan Beyroubi. Alan is a senior fellow and deputy director at Brookings Metro. Brookings Institution is one of the most well-respected global thought leaders in metropolitan research. Their in-depth research helps shape bright futures for metropolitan areas nationwide. Alan also led the Brookings Inclusive Economic Indicators Lab, where much of the work that you've seen today originated. Welcome, Alan.
April.
All right, let's get started. Alan, our first question is for you. Memphis was one of 3 cities selected for Brookings Inclusive Economic Indicators Lab in 2020. The Chamber, alongside our partners at Innovate Memphis and Building Memphis, spent a year learning about how regions leverage data to build more inclusive economic outcomes. Essentially, Brookings helped us build a roadmap. Our roadmap is built around competitiveness. Let's unpack that a bit. Tell us why competitiveness is important for a region and how it's connected to inclusion.
Sure, thanks, April. Well, competitiveness is actually a concept that comes out of the business world, out of business research. There's a professor at Harvard named Michael Porter, who a few decades ago really helped popularize the concept as a way of looking at the competitive environment for companies and for industries. But pretty soon thereafter, he extended that metaphor to nations and to regions, because like companies, regions exist within a competitive environment. As everybody in the video was saying, they compete for jobs, for talent, for innovation, for capital. And over the last 3 or 4 decades, that environment, that competitive environment, has become an increasingly global one too. And so the competition isn't only for the new stuff, it's also about retaining what you have and building on it. Even if you're looking for landing the new stuff, the quality of what you already have, your workforce, your infrastructure, your institutions, that's what matters most. So competitiveness is essentially a framework that helps economic developers understand how they can make their region more competitive. And that framework is ultimately about securing a high quality of life for a region's residents. That is the benchmark for a competitive region. So regions that are smart about their competitive factors, that can prioritize how they want to leverage resources to spur business growth, to attract and develop talent, and to connect internally into other markets through infrastructure. Competitiveness gives you a roadmap for setting those priorities. And what's become even more apparent over the past several years is that real regional competitiveness requires taking full advantage of your existing assets, all your residents, all your neighborhoods. Economic inclusion can be a powerful contributor to growth. And that's why the way you all have crafted the people-powered prosperity benchmark is really powerful. It's a framework with a strong focus on competitiveness, but it also recognizes that equity and inclusion are necessary foundations for and outputs of a competitive regional economy.
Absolutely. Speaking of being competitive, Ted Townsend, this next question is for you. You've had quite a week landing Ford Motor Company at the mega site. That's a big win for West Tennessee. We call that a big fish in the economic development world. What can we learn from Ford's process of selecting the Memphis region about how we compete? And how can we take those lessons forward?
Well, ACP, in my business, we would call that a whale. It's bigger than any fish I've ever had the privilege of going after, and it was great teamwork. But listen, companies are evaluating markets on a number of factors. We're not only competing against those cities that you saw in our dashboard, we're competing against markets all across the globe for these really high quality jobs that are highly coveted. So in the case of Ford, we were competing because we had what they were looking for. We had a site that met their needs, really a clean sheet, as they have said it. And that site, the Memphis Regional Mega Site, was there because the state of Tennessee really planned ahead for the scale of operation, and they wanted to deliver this so badly to this region. The governor has said over the last couple of days, for Tennessee to lead our nation, West Tennessee has to be prosperous. That's a perfect platform for what we're doing today and for the center. But like all companies, Ford also evaluated our region based on a scorecard. These are, as I say all the time, really complex financial transactions at the end of the day. And so they're looking at every variable that you can imagine. They're looking for especially the availability of our skilled workforce and the ability of our workforce development systems to deliver our skilled workforce, and really to develop that pipeline of talent for the future. Not only those today, but when 2025 hits and then 2035 hits and that campus is running, they have the workforce that they need. A company like Ford is also looking at infrastructure, the time that it takes to get their products to the market. All of these elements come together really in the scorecard at the end of the day. And Greater Memphis beat out the competition. The governor said we were competing against 15 other states. So it was obviously incredibly fierce. But we had what we needed to deliver what the company was looking for. So understanding that scorecard is really what the Center for Economic Competitiveness is all about. It's drilling into the methodologies, the formularies, and understanding how we stack up against our competition and really finding ways to improve our weaknesses, because all of those other markets are highlighting them every day. It is absolutely Memphis versus everybody. So we have to capitalize on those strengths, and we see some of that coming out of the data as we're measuring it. So we can get even more announcements like Ford here in Memphis.
Absolutely. That scorecard that you mentioned is so important. I'm going to bring up Beverly Robertson now because you hit on something else. We've been talking about the theme of prosperity. The data really tells us we've got to get more people involved in our economy if we want Memphis to experience explosive job growth. Inclusion is at the forefront of making our economy competitive in Memphis. Beverly, what do you think is most important for our partners and our investors to understand about this approach?
Well, April, I think one of the things that is very important is they need to understand that in order to build greater prosperity in Memphis, we have to diversify our economy. Now, that doesn't mean that there's a zero-sum game going on here. We have to throw out something to get something else working here. We'll always be a great distribution hub because our location and our assets foster efficient movement of products, and that is a huge strength for us. We also have to be intentional about building complementary industry around our distribution capabilities. The same thing that is going to happen when Ford locates on the mega site. There are other businesses and housing. There's a city, that's why its name is Blue Opal City, that will be built up around that. We need to produce and start things right here in Memphis. We need more advanced industry jobs here. We need more technology jobs here. We have to add those to the mix of our economy so we can compete for talent and then drive innovation. You've heard our speakers talk about innovation in the videos. At the Greater Memphis Chamber, we are intentionally focused on generating quality jobs for our market. The data tells us that we have to do that if we want to see more prosperity in this region. A rising tide floats all boats. So this work, the future outcomes that we can together create, will give us the foundation we need to make sure we continually evaluate where we are in the context of national growth, and more importantly, that we understand how growth is translating to opportunity to the people that live in this community. But our work is not over. Our hope is that we can galvanize our community and all of our partners to work together to significantly move the needle to advance our local economy.
That's great, Beverly. I want to make sure you guys that are watching live know our chat is open. So if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A. And some of the questions that are coming in are about the workforce and the talent. We've got a big announcement at the mega site. We know some of our companies are struggling to find talent today. Ted, we know that the benchmark that we've created measures a couple of different dimensions of talent. I'd like you to unpack this for us a little bit. Tell us why it's important to understand both just the sheer volume of people we have in the market, but also understanding the types of jobs and training that those individuals have. Why is that important when we're working to attract more quality jobs?
Yeah, April, I can tell you right now, the number one question a company asks when they are looking at our market is, do you have the talent my company needs to grow and prosper? And there are really two parts to that answer, maybe more, but I'm going to highlight two. Really, one, does the market have a concentration of experienced workers, potential workers, and a student population that aligns with the education and training that my company requires? And then secondly, does the market environment show momentum in delivering the type of talent I will need for the future? So in other words, are talent development conditions improving or are they worsening? Is the market that we're considering, is that investing for the future by partnering with industry and education, or are there many more disconnects than there are connection points? Is the long-term growth sustainable here? And so, considering these realities, obviously they're all very sobering. We have to prepare our people for the jobs, and we want to attract, those are the ones that we want to attract, as well as those that we have today. We know we have employers that have great jobs today. Obviously Ford and SKI are creating jobs several years from now that will be great as well. But the more that we can show companies that Memphis can deliver talent, the more companies will choose this market, period.
Ted, Alan, I'm going to ask you Ted first and then Alan. We know companies across the nation are struggling right now to get workers into the jobs that exist. We're talking about a future where we're bringing in lots of new industries, and I know lots of our employers are struggling. Can you talk to us a little bit about some of the things that people are doing, that the chamber's doing, or that other regions are doing to help address the talent needs of today to really strengthen that pipeline development?
Yeah, so I'll go first. I'll say that we are following the data. I loved hearing what Shannon Brown said, weaponizing the data. I've said it before, and weaponizing the narrative, but, the data tell us we have opportunities, not just to grow, but to own spaces like logistics technology and medical healthcare innovation, even in music. Memphis is really well positioned to compete for technology jobs in the spaces we've typically had historic strengths in. We're also seeing more growth in advanced manufacturing. This week, obviously is a great highlight of that. So look at what we announced. I mean, the electric vehicle manufacturing revolution is now in our region. It is here. And it represents a huge opportunity for those high quality jobs, advanced industry jobs. That is advanced manufacturing. You had Jim Farley say this will be the most advanced manufacturing facility in our 118-year history. That is mind-boggling. And they selected the Memphis region for a reason. They want to introduce that advanced technology here. It's also transportation technology, if you think of it. That's also an advanced industry. And so this is just what's happening in the present. Imagine a future where we really focus on building strong talent pipelines in STEM, and we begin to really compete for more jobs in research and development. Imagine what happens if we compete for more jobs as a community that are building on Memphis's history of innovation and disruption. This is not new to us. And we have to remember that we have introduced incredible innovation and disruption to the world in our history. So let's make Memphis the location where we can create the next wave of transportation technologies, or maybe food or medical device. We have the ability to dream big. Memphis deserves to be that innovative place of choice that it was meant to be. And that's the future I want to see us build together.
Alan, do you have any comments about the talent challenge?
Yeah, I mean, just echo what I think Ted was saying, like it takes an all of the above strategy. And I think we see regions pursuing strategies that are both broad-based in terms of just trying to increase the aggregate amount of trained workers in the region, and those that are looking at specialized industries and occupations that are critical for their growth industry. So I think about Birmingham, Alabama right now, major new business and public sector investment in an earn and learn program for students in the Birmingham public schools. So kids who are often at risk of dropping out of high school or graduating but not going on to post-secondary and perhaps ending up in a job that doesn't provide them with upward mobility, allowing them to gain real practical skills as they finish their high school degree along the way. That just contributes more diverse talent to the local marketplace. And I think about the Inland Empire, Riverside, San Bernardino in California, another logistics, transportation, distribution, and logistics hub nationwide, investing in a new center of excellence for innovation in that industry, which brings together business, government, education, to do a number of things, right? To work on growing new companies, to work on connecting to new markets, but then to actually work on what are the specific needs and opportunities for talent in that industry that's going to be so critical to their future. So I think both broad-based, but also specialized programs that are really focused on building the workforce of the future.
That's really insightful, Alan. Thank you, Alan and Ted. Beverly, I'm hearing a lot of conversation here about what it takes to build this prosperous economy. Our benchmark also talked about job access. That's really a critical part that we weren't able to dive into, but it's a key part of genuine prosperity. Under your leadership at the Chamber, you've really focused our mission around this relentless pursuit of prosperity for all. What does it take for our region to realize that prosperity?
Well, we recognize, April, that we cannot and will not succeed until we take care of our own. The reality is economic systems are very complex, and the pressures placed on individuals and families have allowed some to thrive while others have been left behind. However, there are no excuses. We can come together to solve this as a community, to talk about how can we achieve a more prosperous economy and take the necessary steps toward creating a greater Memphis that works for everyone and gives equal opportunity for all to thrive. Now, nobody said it was going to be easy. In fact, it's going to be hard. But as we begin to unpack this data and we dive deeper into the job access and economic stability metrics, We know our partners will come to the table ready to get the hard work done. And frankly, over the last 3 years or so, I have really been encouraged by the amount of collaboration and cooperation and work that is underway with many of our partners. There used to be a time when we'd always try to keep things close to our chest, didn't want anybody else to know what we were doing. We were all siloed. But now we seem to be working more collaborative and solving problems in a very collaborative fashion. I'm very encouraged by that. I know the city's executing Memphis 3.0. We have an Upskill 901 initiative on the workforce side that is working with training providers and workforce partners. And then you got Blue Meridian. They're investing in the foundational community efforts that can help us thrive. And these are just a few areas where you see that collaboration and cooperation going on. And there are just a few areas where government and community partners are engaged in addressing some of the barriers that make it challenging for people in our community to participate in our economy. Now, with this work, the business community is aligning our efforts to grow and attract more quality jobs and to make sure that we have on-ramps all the way up and down the totem pole. People need to be able to know how to enter and how to access job opportunities. But I think we're on the right track, April, and we just need to continue to build on that path toward creating genuine prosperity for all.
Alan, something that Beverly just said reminded me of some of the conversations we had in the Brookings lab. Collaboration is so critical for regions, making sure that people are rowing in the same direction, making sure that different parts of community and economic development are working together. You work with regions all across the country. What do you think are some of the strengths and potential pitfalls of our approach here?
Yeah, to generalize, I'd say I see regions sort of doing one of two things, right? So I think some regions do a really good job at coming up with big strategies and then getting down to tactics in order to make meaningful change on a couple big things that they care about, and especially now when it comes to creating more equity and inclusion. And then some other regions, and more, I think, are using tools like dashboards and benchmarks to figure out, how they're doing compared to their peers, where they need to improve. I think the challenge is there aren't very few regions that are doing both of those things together in a smart way, where the data informs the strategy and then vice versa, lets you know how the strategy is working. So you don't have a lot of great precedents to follow in Memphis. That's the bad news. But the good news is I think you have an opportunity to be a real trailblazer in what you're doing today. And I think, it's really been a pleasure for us at Brookings to partner with the Chamber and other organizations locally to help develop this people-powered prosperity benchmark, because I think it is the wave of the future and something we want to be able to point other regions to. So as you all come together to set bold goals, to move those metrics in the right direction, to drive that work forward across all of your different sectors, I really do think Memphis has a chance to be the best practice, not just for using data in a smart way, but for doing it in a way that centers economic inclusion amid economic growth efforts and recognizes that these two things are inextricable. And at some level, they are one and the same. And being a model for that would be great for you all. And I think it would be great for a lot of other regions that we work with too.
Well, I don't know about you, Beverly Robertson, but I love to hear the term trailblazer. We love that. And Alan, thank you for those comments. And I think that you're bringing up something that I'm seeing in the chat too. We threw a lot of data at all of you. And as we said, some of the statistics are sobering. I do want to ask Beverly to just elaborate a little bit on something we're calling Vision 2030, which gets at some of the questions in the chat about, we've seen all this data. Now, what are we going to do to improve it? Beverly, do you want to talk a little about Vision 2030?
Yes, I'm excited. I know Gary talked about it in a video, but I'm really, really excited about the way we are approaching understanding where we want to be 10 or 15 years from now, because that's really what Vision 2030 will allow us to be able to answer. And we've looked at a lot of the data today and we've discussed topics, but a lot of what we have talked about, you'll see the manifestation of that in the plans that we'll be building. Vision 2030 is really an initiative being led by a steering committee made up of some of the sharpest business leadership in Greater Memphis. And right now, the group is getting a very deep dive into the data we've discussed today and more, because there's a lot more data. We don't have time to share it all with you today, but they're working to understand exactly what will it take to make Memphis more competitive. And after gaining that deeper knowledge and deeper understanding, we'll be setting some ambitious goals for how the Memphis community and beyond that, the broader region, can take these metrics to advance our competitive position and improve outcomes. And in a few weeks, we'll also be hosting the first Metro Summit with municipal chamber leaders in the other outlying markets. All great cities are regional, and we want to make sure they understand some of this information that we're sharing with you. So we'll be bringing together all the chamber leaders across Shelby County to talk about where do we want to go as a region. And certainly with this new forward investment, these kinds of efforts are more important than ever, particularly as we think about transportation. We want to hear from our partners, and we must better understand what they collectively want to see for the region. We'll also be bringing stakeholders together to talk about how we can work together to drive improvements where they're needed. So once this smaller committee identifies some of these regional priorities, we will have many more people join us from a broad swath of business leaders across this community to begin to shape how we as a community can work together to identify a roadmap in these regional priority areas that will take us from where we are today to where it is we believe we need to go in the next 10 to 15 years. That's why I'm excited, because we are basing our information on data, and we are embracing not just a small group of people, but a substantial group of people who bring different perspectives to the table. And this will help us to build a stronger economic environment for everyone. And you're not going to stop me from being excited, because over the next 2 months, we've got a lot of investors that are going to be at the table, government leaders, economic development stakeholders, because we'll be building out those plans, and we'll keep you posted as we move along.
Beverly, we're all excited about Vision 2030, and we know that's a big long-term priority. Ted, I want to have one quick final question for you, which is, we love the long-term. Data and strategy is all about building a long-term plan for our region, but I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about how we're leveraging this data right now to attract business to our region.
Yeah, thanks for that, April. Really at its very core, we believe in Greater Memphis. We have the audacity of dreaming big and expecting big things for our region, not just anecdotally, but now we have the capabilities with this dashboard, with the data and the insights and the business intelligence, really to drive the narrative we want to hear that's backed by data, and to really shape the future we want to see. Something that I heard just with the Ford announcement this week, we talked about, and we heard all of the executives talk about generational transformation, revolution. The one that was most poignant to me, and it still gives me chills, and I'm getting them right now just even thinking about it, is Bill Adams with TVA, who told Jimmy West at ECD in a congratulatory note. He said, we're changing family trees with this announcement. And that is not hyperbole, folks. That is exactly what we're doing. And all we're simply asking is that these data and the dashboard and the ability to monitor give us even more indicators that we can improve so that we can strengthen those family trees, not just change them, but strengthen them and develop deep roots in this region. So you ask how we're doing that now. Yeah, we are leveraging right now based on some insights that we've learned to position Memphis to win corporate and headquarter and professional services projects. And a good example, you heard that earlier in the videos, is how we are already using the Black, female, and Hispanic tech talent data. Greater Memphis leads the country in the share of jobs held in IT by Black and female talent. We, for far too long, allowed other markets to own that story and that narrative. And so what's even more, the data also tell us that companies have historically put those tech jobs in places where minority talent is less prevalent. So there's that disconnect. So what an opportunity right now to tell our diverse tech talent story to the world, to say to the entire planet, you want a diverse tech talent? You want Black tech talent? Memphis delivers on that now. You want it overnight? Do it now. Come here. Portland, San Jose, Denver, Minneapolis, Seattle, those markets can't do it overnight. We have it now. So that's exactly what we're doing. We've launched an aggressive marketing campaign to position Memphis to these tech companies who are interested in diversity and inclusion as a critical location factor. It's already resulted in traction. We've seen projects come into the pipe. We have seen us become a finalist for projects. We've had some really big meetings with globally recognized companies in the tech industry. Stay tuned for more on that. We're still whale hunting.
Ted, I hate to interrupt you there. I know you get passionate about this subject.
I'm sorry.
I understand we have a special guest joining us.
Oh,
I think we have Duncan Williams who wanted to say a few words. Hey,
Duncan
Duncan.
Williams.
Hello, everybody. Well, first off, April, Beverly, Ted, Alan, thank y'all. I will tell you, as co-chair of the Chairman's Circle Economic Development Task Force, obviously it's been a great week, and I'm super excited about today, and I hope everybody out there is also. So let's just be honest. This isn't the most sexy material in the world, but as Ted says, we are changing family trees and we're changing lives, and we've already seen it happen this week. The Chamber team is really putting numbers together to work in so many creative ways. We all know this is the wave of the future. It's what we've got to do. It is heavily influencing our new marketing campaign. It's called Memphis Moves. So I kind of want to do a little special release. I had to beat up Ted a little bit on this to agree to get him to do it. But we wanted to do a sneak peek of a video the team's been working on. It isn't in the final version, but it's close enough for y'all to understand. We talked about the Black tech talent in Memphis and how we're going to promote that. So I want everybody out there to see it, and it'll be real quick, and then it'll just show you what the staff is doing, what the Chamber's doing, what Ted's doing, what we're doing in the Chairman's Circle and the Economic Development Task Force. So if y'all can, roll that, please.
For the past 2 decades, companies have been locating their tech jobs in America's fastest growing cities. But the creation of these tech meccas, where high-paying technology jobs are abundant and rents are high, have some of the lowest populations of Black people in the country. If a company is looking for more Black tech workers, they need to take their investment where Black talent lives. Memphis has a long history of leading the way when it comes to changing the status quo. Today, we are leading the movement in shaping a more diverse future in the technology sector. We are a majority minority city with one of the nation's largest populations of Black workers. 25% of the workforce is Black, but that's just the start of the many advantages Memphis has to offer. 50+ institutions in our regional footprint offer relevant computer and information science programs and are scaling like never before. In 2021, the NBA Foundation granted a $3 million Black Empowerment Grant to Memphis-based Code Crew to help adults become software engineers. Upskill 901, a Greater Memphis Chamber initiative, works with big brands to upskill 10,000 individuals for in-demand jobs. And Tech 901, quality IT training tailored to fit local hiring needs. Driven by our diverse culture, Memphis is a city that is shaping the future of technology and the world. If your company wants to be a part of the change, now is the time to invest in the future.
Invest here.
Invest here.
Invest here.
Join the movement.
Join the movement.
Join the movement. Join the movement. Invest here. Join the movement.
Miss Beverly, you on?
Yeah, I am. I was trying to wait till the screen changed for me. But Duncan, look, I love that video. And, you know, we at the Greater Memphis Chamber, the staff, certainly owes the Chairman's Circle and our stakeholders a deep sense of gratitude for all of your involvement. And I want to personally thank you for your tremendous involvement and commitment to leading our Chamber's Economic Development Task Force. I know you're joining, you know, Richard Smith, but we see, I saw you standing back at the Ford event the other day, didn't get a chance to speak to you, but wherever we go, if we're pitching new prospects, I'm seeing you there. I just appreciate the time that you have invested, you know, your time, your talent, your treasure. We're extremely grateful for that commitment. And like the Ford investment, our investments in the Center for Economic Competitiveness can be a game changer, not just for this city, but for this region, by providing this data that will allow us to make strategic decisions that can impact the community. So Duncan, thank you for investing. And I invite you to join Duncan as he closes this program out.
Beverly, thank you. It's an honor to be here. It truly is. And to all my peers that are out there watching today, join the movement. This is the time to act. Join me, invest in the work the Chamber's doing. If you're not involved, get involved. If you're not a member of the Chamber, join. We need everybody screaming from the top of the FedEx Forum, from the top of the Bass Pro, from the top of the tallest bank tower. I'm gonna get in trouble with all my bank friends, but from every building out there, we need you screaming, join the movement. Now is the time for us to get it right, and we need all of y'all to be part of this. So thank y'all for joining today. Thanks for everybody who's put all this work in there. April, just an awesome job. We look forward to getting more to you. Y'all have a great weekend, and let's go 901. Bye.